And Phil Grove, just with an update, is our next scheduled race was the kick at 1:45, the Heptathlon 800. There has been a medical emergency in the infield down basically parallel to the start-finish line, and stretcher's just been brought into Cougar Stadium as an individual down next to the shot put circle at the end of the track to my right. So as soon as we get any clarification or the meet resumes, we will be back live. Day 2 coverage of the Bryan Clay Invitational. And we are back with the Heptathlon Section D 800 meters. Once again, a medical emergency, and that individual is being cleared from the infield on the stretcher. And if we do get any information about their condition, we will definitely pass it along to you, as the meet was held up just briefly as they now have to remove the rail to allow the stretcher to roll through. And the field is 200 meters into their first lap. And thankfully not a situation where we have a stretcher on the track and runners trying to come around. But again, a medical emergency caused a slight delay in day 2 as we were getting ready for the final event for Section D of the women's heptathlon. And Ellie Legenrich from Indianapolis going through 464.65, a very solid clip. And we saw that earlier in one of the 800 heats of the heptathlon. That athlete able to finish just under 220. So the the fatigue building in one of the track's most difficult events, the 800 meters, especially after you've competed in 6 others over the past 2 days. Down the back straight, she has company as the FloHawk gives us a look. Down the back straight. Trio of athletes, final 200. Again, this is event number 7 for Section D, 1 heat. And these athletes, their 2-day adventure has been completed. And from Hawaii, using solid form, looks like that is Catherine Touche from Hawaii. She is a sophomore and came into this race with 3,827 points, a very fine 2:13 and change. The official time, 2:13.42, a very good 800 meters. Maybe we could see her later today in an open 8, potentially, if she gets enough rest. And that will put a close on Section D of the women's heptathlon. And we'll step aside just for a brief break, and we'll come back with the first heats of the women's open 800 meters. JoJo's going to join us for the rest of day 2. And we're underway. The first heat of, it looks like, 23 sections of the open women's 800. We are going to go fast to slow, so this is the top group in the open competition for the women's 800. JoJo, do you like the half?
The 800's fun. It's a great event. I mean, as a distance runner, you can go out there and just kind of test yourself, and it's over before you know it. But a lot of people say the 800 is the most painful event in track and field because it's a 2-lap sprint, for especially for distance runners who maybe don't have as many fast twitch.
It has definitely turned that way, and back in the early 80s, Earl Jones, who was a standout at Eastern Michigan, made an Olympic team, also picked up a medal. He really was one of the ones, along with some other early 1980s half-milers, who really turned the tide to where they're going out in 49 high, 50 low for the men, and 64 seconds. And from Washington State, Maya McCabe, in this field of 11, waterfall start for these open sections. We'll go lanes for the first turn stagger, but McCabe really pulling hard down the back straight.
Yeah, she's looking good. I mean, this is when it starts to hurt. That's when this part of the race, coming up on that last 200 meters, if you went out too fast, that's where you're going to start to feel the punishment of that lactic acid coming up in your legs.
So McCabe is one of those rarer commodities 800, 400 doublers. So she's scheduled to come back tomorrow in the 400 meters. So she definitely has the speed. Does she have the strength and the foundation to finish it off? She's looking good right now. Maya McCabe from Washington State is going to hold on to pick up the victory. Simon Frazier's Megan Roxby is going to finish in the number 2 spot, but sub 2:08. A good way to start off these open heats. So 2:07.88 for McCabe. Roxby 0.6 of a second behind. So it speaks to the development of the half mile in the U.S. We'll see. I'm supposed to see Michaela Rose later, one of the sub 2-minute half milers currently active on the collegiate side, that a 2:07 point is in the open section, and you have 16 invite sections.
Oh, yeah, it's crazy. Just college athletes are so fast these days. Yeah, you mentioned Michaela Rose. She's definitely a pretty special athlete. Really excited to watch her race later.
And a really nice young lady. Had the opportunity to talk to her up at Boston University when she set a facility record in a great race there. Looking, I am certain, for an outdoor NCAA championship. There's the field for section number 2. Once again, 10 runners on the oval. So a number of Canadian runners in this group. And we're underway, and we talk about the caliber of competition in that last section of the men's 110 highs. Of course, Damian Warner, the Olympic champion from Canada, testing things out, went 13:65, about almost 4/10 off his career best, but still going through the movements of this 10 event. I think he's going to look like pick up 7 or so at least. He's skipped the first 3 yesterday as working heat number 2. The facility and meet record 2 flat 98, Katie Ann McDonald from LSU 2 years ago.
We might see a new LSU record.
Michaela definitely has the wheels to do it, and the weather right now is cooperating. A little bit of a breeze down there. Surprised to see, as a very quick opener, 61 and change, no messing around by our leader right now. She is up by 15 meters and moving well down the back straight. Make that almost 20-meter lead. That is Ryan Engels from TCU. Pulling strong. We see him going out into lane 3 to move up. And that is Emily Tross from the Minnesota Distance Elite. We see her upside down number 3, but they are not going to catch our leader unless they pull hard in this final 100 meters. Ryan Engels from TCU. 61 high, or opening 400. How quickly can she close? Still 156, 157 on the clock. You can see the pain of this 800 meters showing up in her face as the field begins to close. And close as she does, she is also going to be under 208. Will she take the overall lead? We will find out in just a moment. 207.80 she does by the narrowest of margins. Lexi Goff in the number 2 spot. Lexi running for BYU. She was one of the fastest closers, 209.90. There's our winner, Rylan Engels.
It looks like that's a pretty solid personal best for her. 209.84 was her previous best, so big way to come out and show out from Texas.
And despite the fact that we have 23 sections of this open 800, they are going to go by in the blink of an eye as the starters rating the next section. We're underway. The 11 out on the track currently representing Akron, Iowa, Oregon State, Washington State, Belmont, Wisconsin, and Bradley. And the group of 11 all bunched tightly together going into the main straightaway for the first time. And one of the 2 zips scheduled to compete out in front. That is Maya Munga from the University of Akron, 62 and change. And the Flowhawk back to give us great pictures as they enter the back straightaway. Munga, a freshman from Akron, scheduled to 800, 1500 double. But now Natalie Cummings, one of the post-collegiates in this race, takes over the lead, looking strong going into the turn, final 200 meters. Cummings stayed off the hot pace by Munga, JoJo, and it looks like it's going to develop into a section win for her. The first two are very fast, and we'll see how heat number 3 comes together for Natalie Cummings. As Munga holds on for the number 2 spot. And is she our quickest yet? And it looks like she might be. I'm guessing 207 mid. It is up 207.97. So the first 3 winners all under 208. So the depth in this field, as we have the top 3 right now separated just by 17 hundredths of a second.
They're really banging out these heats.
Again, with now 79 total, there is no time to relax, and especially when we get into the invite sections with the athletes starting in lanes for the first turn. They will keep that pace moving along. Did you see much 800 action in your either high school or collegiate running career?
Sure did. Yeah, ran the 800 several times.
And did you think it was the most painful or difficult?
The 800's hard, but it's fun. But, I mean, again, coming from more of a distance perspective, yeah, the 800 meters, kind of like hopping on the 4x4. I feel like there's not as much pressure in a way running your off event. The 800's fun because you can kind of feel a little bit like a sprinter and go fast.
And not a whole lot of thinking to be done because you really don't have too much time, especially if you get yourself in a situation where you're too far off the pace. But right now in the lead, in heat number 4, that is Jaden Itzen from Iowa, sophomore. Her lone event, at least individual event. And she's going through in 61 high, another quick opening 400 as these ladies have cranked up the intensity in the open 800, but giving up the lead for the moment. And down the back straight, that's Iowa State's Riley Beach. A sophomore. Riley scheduled to double up 800, 1500 at 135. She enters the turn, final 200 meters. Starting to gain some separation. 8 to 10 meter lead for Riley Beach. And she is added to that lead. And 158 with not much track to cover. A new leader, perhaps. And it's going to be close. Another in the 207s. 207.75. It is a new overall lead. You're supposed to get fast to slow, but they haven't slowed up. Not a bit. The ladies in the open 800 really cranking it out. Heat number 5 underway. Some of the squads represented in this one: Colorado, Adams State, which is having a great weekend; Portland, Indiana, DePaul, West Texas A&M, New Mexico, Point Loma, Kansas City, and North Dakota State. And everybody's still bunched together. And heat number 5 of 23. And it's middle distance time for the Buffaloes. Elliot Prabamski and Adams State's Ava O'Connor right behind her. 63, a little bit slower than the previous section's opening lap. But once the Adams State runner hit the start-finish line, she really picked up the tempo. And currently the Grizzlies first and last in this section number 5. Another look from up above. Things are getting a little closer as digging hard going into the turn. That might be Isabella Urox. And it is from DePaul. Trying to chase down, that is Stephanie Cotter from Adams State. Cotter with a smile on her face, looking for home. It is 2:03, 2:04. She'll hold on for the section win and not too far off the lead. $2:08.75.
Next section out on the track. We're having some trouble pulling up the live heat sheets, but these women will be looking to get under that 2:07 mark that we've seen a few runners run so far today. Hip number 7, trying to hang on. Mizzou on her shoulder, coming around the final turn. 800's all about being in the right position as you come up to that finish line. So you can see they're swinging wide out into lane 2, running a little bit of extra track there, but you want to make sure you're not boxed in as you come into the finish to secure your best spot possible. And it looks like Mizzou is going to take this one. And that's Brianna Lee from Missouri, 2:10.89, taking heat 6. Heat 7 coming back up. So far, our time to beat is 2:07.75. That was Riley Beach of Iowa State. Although we have a total of 4 athletes so far who have gone under that 2:08 mark. And hip number 1, that's Hannah Russell out of Idaho, holding off Olivia Ruiz of Cal State Fullerton, who's also gotten out strong. As you can see in the last few sections, it is often favorable to get out hard so you don't get mixed up with the pack or boxed in. Maintaining that position so important in a race this short. Russell, the senior at Idaho. Taking the field through at about 62, but she has some company. And now they're running 3 wide, and we've got a new leader passing on the backstretch. You can see if we can get an ID on that runner. That's Rahel Brommel of Arkansas State. And she's going to try and maintain that lead as they come into the home stretch.
And actually, I think that is Bailey Carr from Gonzaga. Similar uniforms with the red and white, but Carr's going to pick up the win. Going to go sub 2:10. Again, the pace is still off the charts right now. It's so deep. Heat number 7, a third of the way through, JoJo. And it seems like in each of these sections, the field is going out together, at least for like the first 250. Nobody is really going out there and just going crazy, you know, like
well, a couple of the girls have tried to. You try to go out hard, stay out of trouble. Sometimes it's hard to maintain that early fast pace, though. You get excited, lay down a 30, but not all these girls are going to run a 2-minute 800.
Another one underway. Peg, Madden, Hubbard, Bruning, Lowe, Starcher. That's Tori Starcher dropping down in distance. She had a stellar high school career. Running currently for Stanford, Lehner, Harper, Donnelly, Birkeland, and Ewert.
Now this heat in particular, definitely very packed up. Nobody wants to take this one out. The thing about running in such a big pack, though, is you want to stay out of trouble in the 800. Definitely can seen quite a few falls on the track from people running really close together, trying to jostle for position in this event.
And also try to run as close to 800 meters as possible. And we are coming up on 3 wide through the opening 465, so the pace might have been a little slower than this field had expected, and that's why they are still all bunched up. And they are going wide down the back straight, out into lane 3. And that's Lauren Harper from San Diego State trying to make a move in the lead, battling Emma Pegg from Maryland. Peg, and Harper. And on the inside, it looks like that is Iowa State's Cameron Hubbard. But the winner, could come from the outside. Cutting through the middle from Pittsburgh State, Claire Brunig. The Gorilla 800-meter runner gets the win. Wow, now that was a blanket finish, which you'd maybe expect in the hot heat, but we are already heat number 8. And the top 4 just separated by less than a half a second.
That's always fun to watch. There's a little track mascot. Wonder what school they're representing today.
Headed up to heat number 9. Got a mix of some D2 programs thrown into this one. We have Southern Miss, Stanislaus State, Augustana, South Dakota, Nebraska, Kearney, Middle Tennessee State, Wayne State out of Michigan, San Marcos, Grand Valley State, South Dakota, New Mexico, and the Mountaineers of WVU.
Hip number 9, getting to the rail first. That's Grace Waj from South Dakota State. With Emma Bates of Southern Miss right behind her. Not to be confused with the marathoner.
And they're going to go 3 wide coming into the turn. Going very wide is Cameron Cleveland from Grand Valley State, a little further back in the field, but it is Waj and Bates. And now moving up into contention, Sharice Robinson from Nebraska Kearney. Sharice is a freshman, going to double up 8 and 15. The pack still together. And a great look from the Flowhawk down the back straight.
Watch out for Mia Salinas of San Marcos on the outside. When someone's got shades like that on, you know they're serious.
The junior from San Marcos, just the only individual event she's going to run this weekend. Maybe she'll drop down for some 4x4 action tomorrow in the final day at the Bryan Clay. They're going very wide out in the lane 3. The long run for home, Carolyn Sudbeck from Augustana, South Dakota, but I think she's too far back. The winner is going to be number 2. That is Annie Wild. Oh no, on the inside. The Specs win. It looks like it is Salinas from San Marcos. It is. In 2:10.88, she wins by 11 hundredths of a second. I thought she had it, but a final rush and a nice lean. And only now that we're sort of halfway through these, almost halfway through, JoJo, these open sections, are we getting some separation from that bunch of 207s and 208s. Again, we expect to see, some degree of fall off, but the ladies are really running hot today in the 800.
That's right. That's why you come out to California. And Salinas, who won that last section, is an interesting example of an athlete who comes up from, we talked about distance runners going down to the 8, but there's a lot of solid sprinters who will go up to the 8. She races as low as the 200 meters, running a 25.9.
And even though I ended up in the 800 in my college career and then post-collegiately, I never ran the half as far as half lap. 400s, yes. 4x4 relays, definitely. and even the occasional sprint medley where I had to run a 400, but not the 200 as 3 wide once again. As they're going to go through in about 64 high. And as Western Washington's got a couple runners in the lead right now. And A&M Avery Perkins, we see her. The leader right now, that is Emmy Crutchy from Western Washington. And Perkins right now in the number 2 spot. And you see right in between the two of them, that is Sophie Wright, also a teammate of our now number 2 runner, as Perkins goes by with a flourish. And Claremont Mudd Scripps, the D3 program, Laura Zimmer. The run for home. And a big final 300 meters for Avery Perkins from A&M. We're expecting to see her teammate later today. She goes 2:10 and change for the section win. Now, Jojo, you talked about mixing up the distances, and maybe that's an extreme case with the 800 runner going down all the way down to the 200, but really just running maybe some open 400s, definitely some relay 400s to help that 800, 1500 runner develop that mindset of running fast and enjoying it.
Yeah, I think a true 800 runner, I think our fastest 800 runners in the United States are more that 400, 800 hybrid. When you look at athletes like Athing Mu, Donovan Brazier, they could go and run a pretty good 1500, but they have world-class speed in the 4. And that's really how they're able to develop that perfect blend of speed and endurance to succeed in the 8.
Number 11 on the track. We are almost midway through our open sections of the women's 800 meters. We'll come back with the final 2 heptathlon 800s. In between the open 8 for the women and the open 8 for men. The first time I've seen a member of the Drake Bulldogs on the track. That's Amanda Radava. And obviously the Drake Relay is one of the biggies coming up here in 2 weeks, the same weekend that we will be live from Philadelphia with the Penn Relays. Started in 1895, that 3-day love fest for track and field brings together some of the world's finest athletes as side-by-side racing. Amani Fernandez Gorbea from Colorado School of Mines, the leader now at 64 mid, going through in a group of 4 up front.
And trying to come up on the outside, that's Ashlyn Viramontes of Cal State Fullerton.
And will she get there? She is inch by inch moving up onto the runner from Colorado School of Mines. So it's a freshman against a sophomore. And the run for home also D1 versus D2. And it looks like the School of Mines, Amani Fernandez Gorbea, is going to pick up the victory by about 4 meters and just outside of 211. She's got a smile on her face for that effort. 211.95. Heat 12. We have 11 runner fields. And the starters, they've removed their jackets, so it looks like we're inching up into our mid 60-degree high temperatures they have forecast for today. And it's difficult to detect if there's any breeze down on the track level. I know when I ran across about a half an hour or so ago, it seemed like there was, but really not enough to affect maybe any race strategy. And as tightly bunched as they are right now going down the back straight with BYU's Elise Jessen on the inside.
Hip number 4, that's Abby Stamper for Boise State. The Broncos have definitely produced some really strong 800-meter talent in recent years. Christy Schofield, really making a name for herself in that event. She now runs professionally.
It is a two-woman battle down the back straightaway. Still from Boise State.
And this one is Gabriella Chiara from Boise State. Switch places with her teammate.
And from UBC, that is Abby Lipahakala. And taking the lead, the young lady from Canada. The junior running the Open 8 and Open 15 this weekend. And a very fine final 300 meters brings her home just outside of 2:11.
Heat 13 of the women's 800.
Again, with the waterfall start, it's especially important to get yourself out, establish a track position, so you won't have to run all the way out into lane 3, potentially going into the turn to make a pass. But that is what's necessitated in this heat. And we are again in heat number 13. And the Catamounts from Vermont, their runner Rachel Barba, cruising along. Sophomore is going to go through in just about 65 seconds with the FloHawk drone in hot pursuit.
And that's Lauren Wilson of Western Colorado running up on her shoulder.
Down the back straight, 3 wide. And who's going to go into the turn with the lead as they're running right toward our camera in the quarter at 138. That leader is Lauren Wilson from Western Colorado. And is that Kylie Finger from Wisconsin off her shoulder? Uniforms might match, but that is going to be Wilson holding on. That indeed is Finger from Wisconsin. They are all the way out into lane 4 to get a clear run for home. But the win looks like that is Kate Wolkikowicz, and it is 2:12:38. And the stands here at Cougar Stadium are definitely filling up as we're moving into the meat of our afternoon program, 2:30 on the West Coast. If you're just joining us, JoJo Gretzel, Phil Grove, day 2 of the Bryan Clay Invitational, right in the middle of a boatload of 800-meter runs. All right, coming up on the outside, taking the lead, that is Katarina Schubel from Bowling Green State University in Northwest Ohio. And Central College's Peyton Steffen is pulling up behind her. They go through in 65 seconds. And there goes Steffen. Peyton Steffen from Central College leading a chase group of 5 by about 5 meters. Coming into the turn for the last time.
Steffen's had a nice spring so far, setting PBs in all of her events this spring. 4:38 in the 1500, 17:26 in the 5K. Ready to add a new 800 PB to the mix too. She's looking at breaking 2:14.
And she gets it done. Her official time, 2:12:52. You see that on the screen. Riley Kranz in the number 2 spot. Riley running for St. Louis, the Billikens. And we're in the final third of our large grouping of open 800-meter runs for the women, fast to slow. And we started off with what seemed like a never-ending run of sub-208 800s. And you had mentioned about the solid group of American 800-meter runners, and it seems they're getting younger and younger. You have Michaela Rose, Juliet Whitaker, also her teammate at Stanford Willis. Just an incredible group.
That's right. We're in a pretty incredible spot for women's 800-meter running right now. You know, we had our core group, Ajay Wilson, Raven Rogers, I think Mo, of course. But then you have this new crop of college students who are running too flat in high school, and now they're in college. And it's pretty wild. You know, it's not just the distance events where marks have improved significantly since the introduction of super shoes. It's also the 800 meters have, and especially the women's 800 meters in this country.
And I forgot to mention Sophia Goriaran, who's running now at Stanford, who was lighting things up as a high school runner in Rhode Island, and got to meet and watch and talk to Sophia a number of times. She had a very good winter.
Yeah, Stanford's not a bad place to land if you're an 800-meter specialist. Their coach, J.J. Watt, super experienced with guiding young people in that event previously to Stanford. He did a great job at Tennessee.
Down the back straight, the battle between Grace Erb of Illinois State and Camille Reneau from CSU Pueblo, Colorado State University Pueblo, and now Rice's Ava White is going to be leading into the turn. Final 200 meters.
White, the sophomore. She's also looking to get under that 2:14 mark. That would be a personal best for her. Looks like she got the PB. Might not have gotten the heat win on that one. It was close, but it looks like she did get it. Camille Reneau of CSU Pueblo coming in right behind her in a 2:12.
And the next group funneling out to the oval for that waterfall start. 10 runners once again lining up, 2 laps. And the points you were making, it seems like, compared to the longer races in multi-laps, the true distance event, in the middle distances, it seems like the U.S. is really more in control of its destiny, at least in the short term, because they really have that talented core of young athletes that you really don't know who might end up making the team.
Yeah,
the ones we mentioned.
It makes for definitely very exciting championship events. Yeah, long gone are the days of Ajay Wilson winning 10 championships in a row or whatever it was. But that's what makes the sport fun.
Nanette Novak from Cal State Fullerton shuffling her way to the front as he goes through 232 or so. And Western Colorado's Peyton Weiss and moved up into the number 2 spot. We'll catch how things are coming out of the turn. And it looks like Weiss on the outside is going to move into the lead. Peyton Weiss is a freshman at Western Colorado. 64 mid with the Flo Hawk giving us confirmation of that as she has gained some daylight between herself and the new number 2 runner. That's Aaliyah Miller from North Dakota State. Staying with it, the toughest 200 meters, this third one. You have to go out hard, but you have to also maybe save a little bit for the final 200. And this third 200 meters is where Peyton Weiss is still establishing her control over this race, up by 12, close to 15 meters. And in the number 2 spot, that is Elizabeth Vanderput. My friends at Simon Fraser, the only NCAA program in Canada. They're Division II and almost sub 210. So a real nice run in the lead at 2:10.86 for Peyton Weiss from Western Colorado.
Yeah, that's a big personal best for her. Looks like she came in with a 2:16 PB, and she actually ran 2:26 the other weekend. So definitely getting into that spring track form.
All right, nice shot of the grandstands here at Cougar Stadium at Azusa Pacific. And the view on the other side just as wonderful as the fog is finally lifted and we can see the top of the mountains. Just seems like right, you can reach out and touch them with all the hillside homes. It's just gorgeous. And the big cap A at the top for Azusa. All right,
It
another
is a
waterfall
pretty
start.
nice,
Excuse me.
pretty nice backdrop for track and field.
Absolutely. I'm not saying I wouldn't mind living in some of these, but at least take a tour of some of these homes built into the cliffs.
Yeah.
And really with how huge the mountains are, you really can't tell how big these homes are either. But right now, we are back to track and field action. Heat number 17. On the track, total of 23.
That's Jasmine Cooper for Wyoming leading the early charge here.
And her teammate, Paige Safried, is just 3 spots back in 4th. And this time around, everybody's staying in the first 2 lanes as they're headed toward start-finish. You got a nice look at the finish line scoreboard clock there, about 65 and change, as Haley Odekirk from Utah Valley in 2nd.
It's always interesting to see how many of these athletes race cross country in addition to being a 400, 800 hybrid athlete on the track. That includes Jasmine. Just some of these more sprint-based runners doing the fall base building season. You often really pay dividends in the spring.
And I know maybe some of the non-scholarship programs, I know for certain D3s, these 800 runners, they might move them up, occasionally run them in an 8K just to get them some really foundational work, but really working on the strength training, as Wyoming is going to go 1-2 in this one. If they finish like they should have, that is Cooper in first. And nope. Laura Began from Portland State slipped in between, but 2:13.88 for Jasmine Cooper, the senior from Wyoming. And that is something I know if I were to relive my collegiate running days, strength training is something I would have taken potentially more seriously.
You weren't in the weight room enough?
I went there. I knew where it was, but that was about it. I could have shown somebody the path.